Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be chairing this afternoon. My name is Madeline Bunting and I'm a columnist on The Guardian. And it is with great pleasure that we hear that Stephen O'Brien from DFID, as well as our 2011 international finalists, will join us on the stage through the course of this afternoon. We've got a great panel of experts in this area who will be joining us later on, and hopefully you will be listening and taking part in a discussion. It's quite a busy afternoon, there's a lot to be getting through, so I hope you can bear with us without a formal break in the middle of the afternoon. And first of all, I'd like to introduce Stephen O'Brien, MP, Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Development, who will talk about the particular strengths of local clean energy in a development context. Stephen O'Brien, thank you.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much indeed, Madeline. It's a great pleasure to be here with you all, and I'm so inspired, I have to say, by the quality of the entries for this year's Ashden Awards, and in particular, by the commitment of all of you here to a future in which we all have access to the benefits of energy. So, DFID is, of course, very pleased to have had the chance to support the Ashden Awards for 4 years now, and we have been impressed by the results we've seen. The Ashden Awards have championed, supported and promoted life-changing, sustainable energy programs and enterprises in the UK and across the developing world. To date, over 120 sustainable energy programs have been rewarded. So DFID is itself at the forefront of supporting the shift to renewable energy sources and of ensuring that poor people can have access to the energy that will change their lives for the better. The majority of our energy spend over the last few years has been through our multilateral partners, for example, through our support for the climate investment funds that are funding low-carbon investment plans in 12 countries and the Middle East, North Africa region, with 6 more low-income country investment plans expected later this year through the Scaling Up Renewable Energy Programme. And we're also working on 2 new public-private partnerships that will target low-carbon and adaptation investments in Asia and large-scale renewable energy in Africa. They will use public money to leverage private finance and direct it to where it is most needed, securing up to £9 of private investment for every £1 of public money spent. So we're supporting the development of innovation, both technical and in delivery, in developing countries, including through the development of country-level innovation centres. And we're also developing new delivery mechanisms, such as results-based financing, and continually evaluating our effectiveness. So I would like to pause for a moment to reflect on why energy is so crucial to human development and why sustainable energy is so important for all of our futures. It really doesn't take much to see the connection between our ability to harness energy and our ability to progress economically. Energy is the primary enabler of all economic activity. The more effectively we are able to harness energy to the tasks required for human survival, the more we are able to improve the quality of our lives. This is not rocket science. I have a constituency in which I have the oldest continuing working watermill in my own constituency, so I can see how that is true. So however, we should not take what we have done in the past as a guide to building the future. Over the last 200 or so years, we have seen unparalleled economic growth. In the past 18 years, it is estimated that some 500 million people have been lifted out of poverty. With it, we have seen near miraculous breakthroughs in science, communications, production, medicine, and agriculture. And while human ingenuity has played a key part in our development, none of this would have been possible without fossil fuels. Fossil fuels have enabled the generation and widespread distribution of electricity and the extension of transportation networks globally. So all of this has made our modern global trading system possible. Our reliance on fossil fuels for our economic well-being cannot be taken for granted simply because it cannot continue indefinitely. Not only are they finite, but as You all well know their burning is causing global temperatures to rise. The development of clean energy is not only necessary to ensure our economic well-being, but it's also vital for our very survival as a species. Our ability and our determination to scale up sustainable clean energy solutions must provide billions of people with access to energy, but it's also vital for our own future development. And what we learn from the thought, the experience, innovation, and vision of the Ashden Awards, past, present, and future, will form part of our collective response to the energy and climate challenges we face in years to come. It is clear that this year's finalists, I have met some of them already arranged here near the front row, embrace the challenge of improving the lives of poor people while also respecting the fragility of the planet. And not only do their efforts serve their immediate clients, they also serve the needs of future generations. The theme that runs through the offerings of the 5 finalists is that they all have the potential to make a big difference in the lives of poor people in their countries and beyond. You are all about to see the achievements of the finalists, so I won't say too much about them, and of course they speak much more powerfully for themselves than any words I could muster. But I will, if I may, just draw attention to some of the things that have struck me. 4 of the 5 finalists demonstrate successful business models for small clean energy enterprises. Tough Stuff and Toyola, for example, are flourishing businesses, reaching the very poorest, and finding the very poorest are customers who can generate a profit for them and thus enable them to expand their reach to even more people. This is something we want to encourage and we would like to see more of. Tough Stuff International's business model opens up opportunities for local entrepreneurs. And as I've just come back from South Africa overnight, thinking about the whole of the regional development of their economy, right the way from the Cape to Cairo, there is no question, there's no shortage of entrepreneurs in Africa. It's just a shortage of the opportunity to apply that enthusiasm, that skill, and that energy. So to enable that through Tough Stuff International's business is unquestionably an attractive model. And this is enabled through their Business in a Box program. In 2 years, they've sold over 140,000 PV modules, benefiting nearly 750,000 people. And take Toyola Energy in Ghana. It was set up to manufacture and distribute an efficient charcoal-burning cook stove. So far, 154,000 have been sold, saving users about $27 a year in charcoal while cutting emissions by 150,000 tons a year. It's a win-win-win. So that is impressive as a model as well. Husk Power and Abalone are both producing energy from crop wastes. Husk Power systems in India have found a way to address the shortfall in electricity in rural areas, developing a small electricity generating plant that uses gas made from rice husks. And I've just been learning from the gentleman I was just speaking to from there that they're happy to have many more things other than rice husks, almost anything that burns, it seems. So there are 65 plants that is factory plants rather than the growing plants, in operation supplying some 32,500 households and businesses. Households have cut their use of kerosene by 6 to 7 litres a month, saving some 2.7 million litres a year. Children have been able to study properly, and incidents of snake bites, dog bites, and petty crime have fallen. Businesses have been able to stay open longer, while new businesses have started. Abalone Clean Energy in India have developed a plant that manufactures pellets from crop residues that replace the use of polluting lignite for heating boilers. Each ton of pellets avoids 1.7 tons of CO2. And last year, 2 pellet plants produced 65,000 tons of pellets, thus saving 110,000 tons of CO2. And in Pakistan, the Aga Khan Planning and Building Service has developed a range of energy-efficient products for homes that improve home heating and insulation and thus help reduce deforestation in the northern areas near the Hindu Kush and Karakoram mountains. And they have shown great local capacity building to roll out their approach. The products can be bought as a package or individually and include stove, water warming facility, roof hatch, window, and floor insulation. Homes are now more comfortable, less smoke is produced, and deforestation has been reduced. 27,000 households have benefited, while 35 entrepreneurs have been trained to manufacture the product. So, congratulations to you all. You are unquestionably an inspiration. Your projects show us how producing clean energy locally improves local resilience and self-sufficiency while protecting communities from fossil fuel scarcity and price fluctuations. In addition, by providing people with access to clean energy, education and health improves and deforestation reduces. Women and girls, and we put women and girls right front and centre of all our policies, right across DFID, absolutely the key to all development going forwards. Women and girls especially can benefit from this, with time freed from menial domestic work, which can then be spent on more fulfilling pursuits. Above all, access to local clean energy contributes to the achievement of all of the Millennium Development Goals. It is examples like these that demonstrate that local clean energy solutions can be made available, are affordable, and can be delivered at scale. I warmly commend your work, and I commend the Ashden Awards. I look forward to many more years of the innovation that these awards bring to light. Thank you all.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. It's been very kind of you to come, and I hope you'll be able to stay for a little while to hear a bit more from our panel, our finalists. We're going to hear a bit more now about the exceptional finalists this year, what inspired them to start up, what difficulties have they encountered along the way, and how they've overcome them. From the production of efficient, clean cook stoves to small domestic solar systems and biomass fuels, our finalists are bringing cleaner, affordable energy to those who need it most. First, we'll show you a 5-minute film about each of the projects, and then each finalist will give a short presentation describing their work. This will give us a good insight so that at the end of the first set of 3 films, and then again at the end of the second 2, we'll have an opportunity for a question and answer session. So you will be able to put questions directly to those finalists to ask in more detail about some of the challenges and difficulties they've faced and how they've overcome them. So we'll have a short conference discussions twice in the course of the next session. So let's hear about the work of our first international project this year, Abalone Clean Energy India. And they're using a crop waste that used to be burnt in the fields and that's now being used to generate power for local industries.
Burning off crop waste, an all too common sight across India. It's bad for people and the environment. But Abalone Clean Energy in Gujarat saw this as a business opportunity, turning waste into renewable energy.
We are at a place where we know for a fact that energy requirements are going to increase as emerging economies come into the economic mainstream. Renewable energy in that sense is completely critical for our future as a planet and as a human race.
Big businesses in Gujarat, one of India's most industrialised states, burn a lot of lignite and coal. So replacing them with Abalone's biomass pellets helps cut carbon emissions. Here, fields of cotton leave farmers with tons of waste. Now, instead of burning it, they bring it to Abalone's collection points where it's carefully weighed. And they get paid straight away. It's good money for farmers like Malik Khan.
We used to burn the crop waste, but now we bring it here and we are paid for it. If we can sell our waste like this for year after year, we will be really happy.
From the collection point, the chopped waste is transported to one of the pelleting plants which Abalone has built. It's heated, compressed and made into pellets in just 45 minutes. Now they are ready to deliver to clients. In this combined heat and power plant, pellets have replaced lignite, generating both heat and electricity for the factory. No technical changes were needed, and the pellets produce as much energy as lignite. And the switch has made a real difference to the workforce.
While we switch over to the bio-rich, that is pellets, we have found it excellent. When we use the pellets, we feel free.
Right from the start, Abalone knew they had to make sure they had a reliable supply of raw material. So they set up an NGO called Purnakumbha to work with the farmers. Run by local people like Jignesh Palmer, Purnakumbha is known and trusted in the community.
This is Sedla. I was born here and know everyone. This is the temple square. Since we started Purnakumbha, we are all getting together as a community. Farmers are being paid 650 rupees per ton of waste.
Under Mahesh Gajjar, the local head of Purnakumbha, the program has gone from strength to strength.
Our program of collecting cotton waste here is attracting more and more members.
They advise the farmers about sustainable farming, how to increase yields, and which crops to grow to deal with the changing climate. With plans to expand, Abalone will need even more sources of biomass in the future. They are working on quick-growing crops which can be planted on spare land.
Bamboo is the fastest growing variety, and we are multiplying bamboo by tissue culture technology to ensure the quality and quantity throughout the year.
Other scientists are analysing biomass samples from all over the world to help meet the global demand for pellets.
I think pellets are completely essential as we address the energy crisis, because A, they are made out of waste and therefore become a very good use of this waste. B, they have the ability to fit within existing energy systems. So I completely think that pellets are going to be an essential force in driving the energy economy of tomorrow.
Thank you for your attention. But don't assume that open burning field is only in my field. It happens every day in many parts of the world. And if you estimate the quantity, it is in trillion tons. And this is all we need simple solution. At Abalone, we focus on low carbon dioxide emission business activity, and we wanted to achieve with higher degree of sustainability. World is today looking for energy substitute for sure, but very soon world will demand substitute for petrochemical products like bioplastic, biopolymer, and this is a corridor where we look our future worldwide. On the other hand, there is enough voice and quarrel among the conflict between fuel, food, and fiber and fodder. We have take not to get into this more. So where is a room for us to do the business? And we found this burning field to start with. And today, we focus on all varieties of organic leftover from our society. This includes farm residue, forest residue, city waste, algal biomass, and we are prepared to produce more diverse value chain out of this. Since we are coming from life sciences and microbiology background, we understand photosynthesis more. So we feel that world has not done any work on photosynthesis. And sun can be captured in many ways. And why we are not focusing on photosynthesis? So, while collecting the waste from the farm, we also building our capability to increase the photosynthesis on the field. So we get better land value, better land utilization and more waste in due course of time. Now coming to our project, this is our achievement so far. Already about our work is said, so I will not get into the detail, but important point is very soon we will touch more than 20 million people in my state. The total population in my state is 50 million. So 20 million people I will touch for collecting the waste. Next, please. What are the ingredients for this success? There are many micro and macro ingredients, but I will not go into detail. I will just focus on few of them. First of all, understanding of product application and its positioning. Friends, let me clear with you. This business is not with margin. It is very with little margin. Unless until you position your product in a high-paying customer zone, it is difficult to run on sustainable basis. So what we do is, we focus on high-end paying customer market segment and try to give more value to the farmer so they have a drive and motive to come to us. And that reduces the panic situation of collecting the waste. Most of the time, we have seen people focusing waste for free of cost. Days are gone. So this is one ingredient for the success. Risk mitigation strategy against weather uncertainty. Yes, world is facing of heat wave, cold wave, unpredictable rainfall. So it will affect our business on availability of the agri residue on the field. So through extension arm, we try to minimize the impact of this negativity by educating farmers how to prepare themselves to minimize the impact on the yield. If I talk about barriers, there is no precedent of such kind of case in our region. So including my team, people have less conviction when we started it. So now we have operation on the field. So building conviction is more important, and therefore building successful precedent for others is the responsibility we are taking. In this business model, you have to be very rich. It's a decentralized model, so it is effort-stretching work. This is another barrier for scaling up, but with Purna Kumbha kind of extension, we want each collection center as if it is a vibrating business house. And they come to us, take my waste, don't come to me. So this is how we are taking things forward. Interface with community. We are dealing with large diversity of culture in our region. So there may be a soft issue which we are unable to foresee today. And we see that we need to develop two characters. One is corporate character or industry character, and second is social entrepreneur character. So from day one, we have two different verticals to overcome these barriers. Friends, our plan is very aggressive. We are not tired. In fact, we are motivated to do more. Our dream is 500,000 tons of agri pellet from all over the world. We will produce 200,000 from India and balance from other part of the world. World is looking for more food products, so I'm sure I will get more and more organic leftover to do my business. Thank you.
Many thanks, Pankaj. The next project we're going to hear about is Toyola Energy Ghana, an exceptional, profitable cook stove enterprise which just can't keep up with the demand.
Lumps of clay like this will soon become a cleaner, safer and cheaper way to cook for the hundreds of thousands of families across West Africa who currently have to use traditional charcoal stoves. This scrap metal is being battered into a shape that can reduce greenhouse gas emissions and deforestation. They all become Toyola energy-efficient cook stoves. The ceramic liners are insulating and heat-retaining, so these stoves use a third less charcoal. Since Toyola started in 2006, the company has sold over 150,000 stoves. Each one is stamped with a unique serial number, allowing Toyola to monitor sales and keep a close eye on its quality control. Sio Kwaku, an experienced independent metalworker, has made many stoves for Toyola. He was trained for free by the company. In return, he agreed to pass this training on to at least 2 more people.
I have trained 25 people, and all of them now know how to make these stoves, and they are still producing them. I am always busy. There is always a demand for these stoves.
What Toyola does is to guarantee a market for you. Any number you produce, Toyola buys. And that motivates people to work very hard.
I have lost count of the number of stoves that I have made.
Artisans aren't the only people benefiting from the large demand for Toyola stoves.
Over the course of 4 years, I have sold around 6,000 stoves.
For Gina, an independent retailer, it's been a life-changing experience.
Customers are happy with the stoves because they don't consume much charcoal. It only takes a little for the food to be cooked. The stoves have helped me and my family. They have enabled me to buy land and expand my business. It's great.
People will use the product and they will love it and telling other people about it, and then they will start making money from it.
To reach even more families, Toyola employs sales agents who bring the stoves right to the customers' homes.
When I was working at a school, Toyola arrived with stoves. When I was told the price, I decided to buy one. I used it to cook rice and realized that it only needed very little charcoal. I started telling all my friends, and soon everyone in town was buying them. After this, I decided to become a sales agent.
A lot of charcoal is produced unsustainably, so Toyola stoves cut greenhouse gas emissions. Each one produces 1 ton of CO2 less per year than these traditional stoves. This helped the company become one of the first stove manufacturers in Africa to receive carbon finance. It's used as a subsidy, bringing the sale price down to as low as $7. But for many, even this price is out of reach.
The majority of our customers cannot pay cash, so we give them credit.
Since Toyola stoves reduce the amount customers need to spend on charcoal, the company provides them with a money box, helping them to save this money and pay off their loan.
When I got the stove, I was given this money box. Every day, I put money in. When I eventually took out all the money, I had enough to pay for the stove.
The demand for Toyola cook stoves is so great that as soon as a batch is shipped, another has to be made. Today, Toyola have arrived in Wawase, 300 kilometers north of Accra. They're bringing their stoves here for the first time.
We are a business, but we are a social enterprise, which means we are not just looking for money. We want to help people that are considered poor.
An enthusiastic presentation generates lots of interest.
Normally, after a presentation like this, we don't go back with anything. They are convinced to save them money and it will improve their health and life level. So they are receiving it very well.
As news of the stove spreads and the company grows, more and more people are demanding Toyola cook stoves.
We are already in Togo. We are going to be in Benin and Sierra Leone before the end of the year. It's improving the future of the nation. So I feel good being a part of this.
Thank you very much for the opportunity given to share my experience with you today. My name is Suraj Wahab. I'm a cook stove salesman from Ghana. Thank you, Ashden, for organizing this life-changing event. Before I started Toyola Energy Limited, I observed a huge but poorly served market for energy-efficient cook stove among millions of poor households in West Africa. The business was dominated by poor, sometimes illiterate, informal sector artisans. I have a degree in accountancy, and conventionally will not be expected to do this type of job. But I did. I got trained in stove making. I set up shop under a tree. I started working in the dirt, pounding on metal to fabricate energy-efficient cook stove from scrap metal. We will sell a few stoves a week. We knew how to manufacture stoves, but we don't have investment capital needed to run a normal business. Since then, I bought the land around the tree where I used to work in the dirt and built a factory there. We now have 5 manufacturing facilities in Ghana and 1 in the neighboring Republic of Togo. We run a fleet of 10 trucks and sell stoves in all the 10 regions of the country, as well as neighboring Togo and Burkina Faso. We employ hundreds of people. The key ingredient here was investment capital, complementing a local home-grown business model that built on what works in our own environment. There is an unlimited number of smart, enterprising energy entrepreneurs in Africa. Most of them will not have the opportunity I've had because they lack access to capital. Africa is not asking for handouts. We simply need the same financial services that the West enjoys every day to start and grow our own businesses, to serve our villages and communities with the essential services they deserve. So far, we have sold 154,000 stoves. We were only the second registered project for carbon finance for cook stoves in the world. From September 2007 to August 2010, about 145,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions were reduced. We are still awaiting the result of our latest carbon audit. Toyola stoves save poor people large quantities of money in saved fuel. In 2010, we provided employment for 172 stove producers and over 300 people in sales. 98% of these are women. Our solar work, which was built on the back of the cook stove, has also been progressing very quickly. What are the ingredients of success? We use specialization in manufacturing. We produce the different components of the stoves, and we do the final assembly in our factories. Each artisan is his or her own entrepreneur and work on commission based on what is produced. We also take the product to the customer and sell most of our stoves on credit. We use the Toyola money box, as we have seen in the film. Here, a customer can accumulate their savings on fuel to pay for the stove. I built the business built on my knowledge that poor people always pay their debt. There is a great social stigma in African villages if you cannot pay your debt. Toyola's knowledge and belief in poor's willingness to pay their debt has helped us to penetrate previously unserved markets. The barriers. Lack of finance is a major barrier. Local banks are willing to lend to me in the early days. They perceive my plan to sell to poor people as very risky. The carbon finance process is expensive, bureaucratic, and time-consuming. Reaching potential customers in remote villages in Africa is also expensive and tiring. Challenges abound in this sector. Toyola received the first investment from UN Foundation's ARI program in 2006. Further rounds of investment allowed Toyola to continue growing. eCarbon developed a successful carbon project around Toyola's work. Most importantly, Toyola brings its products to the doorstep of the customers. We believe the people that are mostly in need and will benefit most from our products don't know about the existence, neither do they believe in it. So taking it to them is an important strategy which has accounted for our success. Toyola aims to produce sustainable charcoal as its fuel source. We also intend to introduce wood stoves. We continue to grow sales of ASO stoves, selling another 140,000 stoves by 2013. We wish to expand further in Ghana and into Benin, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Burkina Faso. In Togo and Burkina Faso, our work is already the focus of a CDM program of activity finance project being developed by eCarbon. We expect our increased sales will result in additional 336,000 tons of CO2 emissions avoided by 2013, and at least 754,000 people positively impacted by our work. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Suraj. The last project of this session is the Aga Khan Planning and Building Service in Pakistan, which is bringing some invaluable and surprising energy additions to homes in northwest Pakistan, and also reducing deforestation.
The remote mountains of northern Pakistan, where the vast ranges of the Hindu Kush, Karakoram and Himalaya meet. Isolated with harsh winters, where there were once trees, there are now only rocks. Deforestation is a major problem here. Most people burn wood for cooking and heating. Their poorly insulated homes need a lot of wood to keep them warm, so the houses fill with smoke, a major cause of respiratory and eye disease. Chambeli lives with her 4 children and husband in the village of Pakora.
Before we used lots of wood. We used to go far to collect it, but we use much less now.
Like many others in her village, Chambeli's home is now much warmer. She has a cleaner, more efficient stove with a chimney.
There used to be a lot of smoke, and because of that, we had sore eyes, aching chests, and our clothes were covered with soot. We had to warm water in a pot, using even more firewood. But now, water is warmed in the barrel for dishes, laundry, bathing, for everything.
There's insulating foam on the floor, making it warmer and more comfortable. The chimney removes all the smoke, so the traditional hole in the roof can be covered by a hatch window. It keeps in warmth, lets in light, and allows in fresh air when required. The products were developed by the Aga Khan Planning and Building Service Pakistan, part of the wider Aga Khan Development Network. In 1997, they started the Building and Construction Improvement Programme, or BACIP. In these isolated mountain communities, families have to grow all their own fuel wood. The challenge for BACIP was how to make people aware of their fuel-efficient products. So they recruited local role models like Bibi Safina. They call them resource people.
When I started with BACIP, I used to go door to door telling people about the products. I would record the orders and pass them on to BACIP.
Today, Bibi holds meetings in her home to promote the products.
Most of the BACIP products are women-centered. These are the products which have been helpful in saving the time of women, which they spend to fetch the water, which they spend to collect the firewood. So these resource persons, they have been asset for the community, and we were able to make the local women to decide on their own for the adoption of BACIP products.
At first, resource people like Bibi worked voluntarily, but as their workload increased, BACIP started to pay them a modest income.
I get 10% commission from every sale. Gradually, I have gained more and more business experience. Now I have also started a business of my own, so my standard of living is really good now.
When Bibi signs up a new customer, she liaises with BACIP so products can be sourced from local manufacturers. BACIP trains these entrepreneurs. They teach them how to make the products to a good standard, able to pass BACIP's quality control. They also supply tools and arrange startup loans.
BACIP invited me for training, so I went to the town for a week. Then I came back here and started work. I began training others, around 25 people, and they are now working here too. I also earn more money from my machinery, which BACIP also helped me to install. So now I have both good machines and several employees. I used to earn 150 to 200 rupees a day. Now I earn 1,000.
The stoves are also made locally. This metal worker used to make a couple of hundred stoves a year. Now he makes 2,500.
The whole notion is to ensure that there's enough trained entrepreneurs within the communities so that they are able to meet the ongoing demand and make it a market-based model, that these entrepreneurs make a good business out of it. So it's a business model for continuity and for sustainability.
Wall and ceiling insulation also helps to keep schools, other buildings and homes warm, even in the middle of winter. BACIP continues to innovate and expand its reach, holding roadshows to introduce new communities to its products.
All's good now. The children are happy, we are happy, the house is clean and we have warm water. There's no smoke. Before we had a different life, now it is completely changed.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Qayyum Alisha, Senior Program Manager for Building and Construction Improvement Program of the Aga Khan Planning and Building Service Pakistan, which is part of the Greater Aga Khan Development Network. The agency has been working in Pakistan since 1980 and has the mandate to plan and implement infrastructure and technology-related development projects. BACIP program was formally launched in 1997 with financial assistance from Canadian Development Agency, CIDA. In 1999, the program developed its first energy-efficient products, such as roof hatch windows, energy-efficient stove, water warming facility, and tested in the communities. In the same year, BACIP trained its entrepreneurs. Karim Khan, one of the many carpenters who specializes in manufacturing roof hatch windows, and Sharif, one of the many stove makers, now producing water warming facilities and stoves in bulk. As it started gaining acceptability, BACIP partnered with First Microfinance Bank to provide microcredit facility to the house owners for purchasing BACIP products. In 2005, AKPBSP won the Elkin Prize for Sustainability and Improving Built Environment. It was after this award that the program gained significant recognition globally. Since it was established, BACIP has installed 50,000 energy-efficient products in over 300 villages across northern areas. The program has led to reduction in fuel expenses and health-related bills of the beneficiaries, and also improving the environment by reducing biomass use and CO2 reductions. Using BACIP products in the home has reduced the drudgery chores of women and children and has significantly increased their productive time, enabling them to engage in other useful economic activities.
BACIP is an innovative model that addresses living conditions and built environment challenges in a holistic manner. Improving the indoor environment has positive impacts on health, environment, and economic conditions of the people. BACIP is locally based. The product users, manufacturers, marketers, salespersons, everyone comes from the local area. The program involves the community at every stage of the product development to ensure that the products are socially and culturally acceptable. Another differentiating factor about BACIP is that it targets women and children under 5 who spend most of their time living inside traditional houses in miserable living conditions. It encourages women to participate in decision-making processes, in particular for adoption of housing improvement products. They also become catalysts for change by becoming marketeers in their villages for BACIP products. Over the years, BACIP has been encountering a number of challenges and barriers. However, these challenges have been taken as opportunities to introduce new initiatives and increased coverage and access for the program. One of the biggest challenges for the program has been the mindset of the people with strong traditional perceptions about inefficient solutions for the problems. BACIP was able to change the mindset and to bring about a change in their behavior and habits through its innovative awareness campaigns such as organizing road shows, radio talk programs, and exchange visits. The second biggest barrier faced by the program is the difficult geographic terrain, as it takes hours for the staff to get from one village to another. To overcome this problem, BACIP has established local sales networks where the source persons now, most of them women, take orders from the local people and pass them over to the nearest manufacturers. They also ensure that the products are delivered, installed in a timely manner. The third biggest challenge faced by the program is the immense poverty in the region. However, under the program now the poor has access to microcredit. BACIP plans to expand its reach to another 17,000 households under its CDM project. The program plans to create a bigger pool of entrepreneurs by formalizing Train the Trainer program. It has plans to introduce vocational training programs in the local universities. It plans to increase the access to microcredit by entering into strategic partnership with microcredit institutions. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask Suraj to come back up onto the platform along with Pankaj and Kayum, and we're going to have the question and answer session now. I'll just open up this conversation, if I may, Suraj, by picking up a point that you made about the difficulty of getting local banks to invest. And I wondered if you could explain a little bit about why that might be so.
We are just not attractive to the bank. I was trying to do a lot of things that are not conventionally done. Nobody wants to sell to the poor. And for myself, I don't have collateral security, which is supposed to be about 3 or 4 times the amount of money I'm looking for. And they thought I should really go and look for a job. You went to school. Why don't you find a job? My wife is also saying, bring money to the house. So
there's a very a sort of risk-averse culture in the banking system.
Yes, that's what is conventionally done, and unfortunately it still continues till now, because there are actually a lot of people that could do what I've done, or perhaps even more, if they have access to capital. And I will really consider myself as having achieved something by coming here, if Toyola can be seen by the world as an example of what can come out of Africa if we have access to finance.
Pankaj, from your experience in India, does any of that resonate? Are you familiar with that kind of reluctance from the banking system?
Not really, but there is a resistance for sure, because there is no precedent of our kind of project on the ground. So what they do, they look for the background of the management. So they don't go by purely on product and markets. They go by the history of the management. So this is the situation even in my country.
I was very interested, Pankaj, in your model whereby you'd set up an NGO to help your work. Suraj talked about being a social enterprise. There's slightly different ways of approaching a similar issue. Why did you go down the route of creating a separate NGO?
Let me clarify, this is not an NGO, but the spirit of this extension arm is like NGO. So one can view in different way, but we are actually nurturing social entrepreneurship through this NGO, or sorry, through this extension arm. Because in coming days, we expect this extension arm as a profit center on its own. So they will not continue without profit for a long time. So I see more economic activity in each collection center.
So it's like you're sort of incubating a social
Yes,
enterprise.
it is an incubation of the social entrepreneur locally.
Right. I wonder if there's anybody here that has a question or a contribution. There's a gentleman right at the back. If you could just let us know, great.
Hi, Mitra Arjun from Natural Innovation. I'm interested in this funding gap you talked about. It seems to me that if you're doing the same thing over and over again, digging a well with the same technology, you can get the philanthropy. But if you're trying to do something new, the philanthropic investment doesn't like the risk. And nor, of course, do the for-profit investors. They're still not attracted to a bottom of the pyramid market. So how do we fill that gap where people can actually do new things at the bottom of the pyramid and get the investment?
So
do you want to comment? Yeah.
I can comment in this way. See, every part of the world has a two facet. One is an urban facet, or where we see a lot of industrial activity and service sector. Another is a rural sector. We see a lot of gap between two sectors. Now, if rural sector is a feeder and urban sector is your peer, or maybe the value builder, then we must target high value zone of the urban sector so that we can pay more to the rural sector. And most of the banks, they come from urban perception for the financing the project. And it is very well easy for them to accept our logic. If I go to any rural bank, they will not even listen to me, because they have a different perception about animal husbandry or microfinance to the farming. And most of the time, they have burnt their fingers because of many reasons. So which reference you are taking forward is more important over and above the selection of raw material and market.
There's a group of hands here in the center of the room. Yeah, sorry, I can't quite see the microphone. Yeah.
Kieran Stopforth, Bloomberg New Energy Finance. My question is, what's actually stopping the banks themselves from lending to you guys? Because is there a way that we could get those kind of lending to small social enterprises? Thanks.
Should we take a few questions? There was a gentleman right beside you, if you could just hand it to him. And then there was a couple more questions in here as well, so we'll come back to you too. If you could just make a note of the...
Thank you. It's Lewis Temple from ID UK, International Development Enterprises. This is a question really for Suraj. He said that he uses the carbon financing to subsidize the cost of the stove and the product to $7. Have you considered other options for that carbon financing, such as expanding the market, going into new areas and so on, rather than a subsidy? What is the reason behind the subsidy there?
Can you remember that question, Suraj? And we'll just take a couple more, if that's okay. So there was a lady and then a gentleman in front.
Thank you. It's Kath Peasley from Dulles. We work with solar systems, usually for the medical sector. So again, sorry, a question for the Toyola stoves. I saw that you were, obviously it was mostly about the stoves, but I saw you were also involved with solar power, which is generally much more expensive than the stoves. So I wondered if the same sort of model and the same financing worked with the stoves, or whether you were doing it a bit differently with the solar power. Thank you.
Perhaps we'll just give Siraj an opportunity to reply to both those questions and come back to you in a minute.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Regarding the carbon finance, until very recently, I think last year, I never believed the carbon money will come. I was just running a good business. I want to run a sustainable business where everybody along the value chain is going to be motivated to work because they are making money. But the carbon finance happens to come at a very timely manner because we use scrap to produce these cook stoves. Most times we pick them for almost nothing. Actually, some people are happy for us to take them away. You know, that was about 5 years ago. Then some 2 years ago, the Chinese came into the market buying up all the scraps they can see. So now we have to pay for what we used to pick very cheaply. And the prices of production kept going up. And I would have had to increase the prices substantially to my customers. But then the carbon comes in, and then I don't have to increase the prices so much. So it's more convenient for my customer. Also, it's answered the question of collateral security and attractiveness of the Toyola model to financiers. Because now they know carbon revenue is coming, so they are willing to borrow me more money, and also they are willing to borrow that money against carbon revenue, both as collateral and for repayment. So it makes it easier for us to expand. To that extent, carbon revenue has been very helpful. And regarding the solar, that is actually a very interesting question. 4 years ago, I didn't know anything about solar, just what the man on the street knows. But because of Toyola's marketing model, we take our products to our customers. So I'm always in conversation with them. They see me as their friend rather than somebody selling something to them. So they tell me, now we hear petroleum prices are going up. We cannot even get if we want to buy. And if we get, it's too expensive. Can you help us? So I came to the city looking for solar companies and telling them, I have customers for you. Can you sell to them? They say, okay, do they have money? I say, unfortunately, no. But they can use the Toyola money box. They say, what is Toyola money box? I brought it out, and the man like, say, my friend, get away. I can't give your customers money. So I decided to spend some of my own money to buy solar lanterns for my customers. And I found out that the Toyola money box, which is actually our means of administering our own credit system, works more for solar than even the stove. Because the stove, you save half what you spend on charcoal or fuel and put it in the Toyola money box. For solar, you put 100% in. Because the day you have a solar, you don't pay anything. And it's actually easier. So we started doing solar on the side. And I can tell you today, Toyola Solar, which we have had to spin off as a separate business because it's growing so big, is threatening to be bigger than Toyola Energy because the major constraint for people buying solar system, which is highly needed in Africa and very suitable because we have a lot of sunshine, is price. But it becomes sensible when you can allow people to pay installmentally. They are spending the money on dry cell batteries and kerosene anyway. So if you allow them to pay gradually, then it's... So I think it's quite applicable, and I can tell you it will always work more for solar than almost cook stoves.
Just to add a point to your question, to get carbon eligibility, we ensure to other side, third world, that this program is very well drafted. It has passed through all the validation process, and therefore there is a business. So it brings the conviction to the bankers even to finance.
How easy was it to get carbon finance? I mean, the process of application and like Pankaj says, you know, the certification required.
It was quite cumbersome and time-consuming. It took so long, I never thought it was coming. And because we are pioneers, nobody, as at the time we started in 2007, nobody has ever got carbon finance for cook stoves. So it's like they are asking so many questions, they want so much documentation, they want to test everything. And it was a long drawn-out process. So I stopped thinking about it and concentrating on my business. So it was a pleasant surprise when one day they say, okay, you are registered. And you could actually sell it. And Goldman Sachs
decided to buy our offsets. And it's really nice it came at a timely period too. And then I found that Toyola had become suddenly more attractive to bankers, and the financiers are willing to borrow more money. So I think to that extent, I'll say it's very good.
I'm also in agreement with Suraj. We also don't bank on the CDM benefit. It is a bonus. So if business is around CDM, I think there is a question of sustainability in long run.
There was a question here. The gentleman waited very patiently. Second in the middle of the room. He had his hand up earlier.
Hello. Well, I'd like to thank you for presenting 3 very impressive projects, all of which make a substantial difference to the carbon footprint of the people concerned. I just have one slight question. You have quoted the amount of carbon dioxide which is saved by this project. Is that a net figure, or is there a significant amount which is involved in collecting the raw materials, making the products and distributing it?
Yeah, it is a net figure. We have deducted environment leakages. So when you shred, you burn electricity or sometimes diesel. So we have deducted those energy burning while processing it, while even pelletizing it. So we have deducted environment leakages in calculation of carbon footprint.
So the net figures?
Yes.
I want to add that that is why it's so, I find it so cumbersome, but they have taken so much trouble to deduct so many things, so many experts will come, and I can tell you they are very conservative, because they even assume that some of the cook stove or whatever will not work, and they deduct all those. And there's something very interesting during our last year's carbon audit, because Toyola cook stove lasts about 5 years, and they assume every year 20% is going to break, so they deduct that from carbon revenue. And when the auditors come, they were looking for a broken Toyola stove, and for about 2 days we can't find any. At the end of the day, they commissioned another study and found out that it's actually 2.3% or so that breaks. Though I didn't see any of those, but they found out. So it's actually net figures, and I think they are very conservative.
And I have a very funny experience in it, When they come to, when validation was going on, they were asking about how much you are burning to make it this and vagere, vagere. Then I asked simple question. In my country, coal comes from Africa, comes from Indonesia. What is the environment leakage there? Could you put on the coal? And then you question all. I'm fair to answer your question, but this is also environment leakages. So what he said, for very micro equipment, I think they need more document. When people don't know how to write, how can you make documents? And how do you preserve it? And where? And again, there is a suspect whether it's a true entry or not. There is no computer or maybe Wi-Fi system there for possible to integrate. And I'm totally in agreement with his situation.
There's a few more hands up. There's someone in the middle of the aisle, and then a lady further back. About 3 rows back. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Chris Berg from Topness. I was really interested to look at the health benefits of the stoves in Pakistan. I spent some time in poorly ventilated dwellings, breathing in the smoke, and wondered how people managed to put up with it for so long. I noticed you'd also not just measured the health benefits, but actually had a carbon footprint for those health benefits, measured the carbon saving because of the improved health benefits. I wondered how you'd gone about doing that.
And we'll just take one last question, the lady in the white jacket.
Hello, I'm Tony Lanier with Eco Capital. The question I have for the cook stoves in Ghana, one of the challenges that we have when we look at projects to invest in Africa is the charcoal issue. And your cook stoves are using charcoal. Is there are you looking to develop your stoves to use maybe pellets like the man next to you is producing, out of waste material instead of using charcoal, because that continues to be a problem in Africa, even if you're just using little amount?
Well, to the question about health benefits of our products, we have vetted the performance of our fuel efficient and other improved products through reputed research institutes, whereby they have ratified or they have proof that the energy efficient products which have been developed by our program have been helpful in reducing the presence of particulate matter, in particular the smoke inside these traditional houses. And in regards about the footprint, we have also gone through this big grind about the savings by each housing improvement product developed by the program, like the savings of firewood with the use of a combination of 3 products and combination of 2 products and wind product. So there have been different percentages for different products. Like if you use 3 BACIP products, which is the roof hatch window in combination with the water warm facility and cook stove, it saves more than 60% fuel requirements in a year.
Suraj.
Yeah. Regarding that, I think that's part of the things they did in the study. And I think it's something that is required continuously. The health benefits, the emissions, they monitor this, I think, biannually or quarterly.
It was more the question about charcoal.
Yes.
Could you move on from charcoal?
More importantly, that is something we are trying to do very much. And we are already working with some other organizations, especially in areas where the greatest abuse of deforestation has happened. We have organizations that are replanting fast-growing trees, and we want to start carbonizing this. So this is something Toyola is planning to do. Why we feel excited about what we are doing for now is because that is the reality of our situation. And I will demonstrate this by a program that is going on in Ghana now. They call it the school feeding program. And because they think charcoal is a dirty fuel, what they started was all the schools where this feeding program are going to happen, they buy them modern, cleaner equipment like gas cookers and gas, and they send them to all these remote villages. And after they have finished using the first one, they just pack them away and return to firewood. The reality of our situation is that over 95% of our population
for cooking application, you are looking for fixed carbon. Whereas in pellet, you have a fixed carbon and volatile matter. So when you burn it gaseous thing comes, when you burn biopellet, the gaseous stuff comes first and it smokes the place. So it is not practical if it is naturally dropped. And all these cook stoves are not driven with the fan. But if it is driven with the fan, then you are right. One can use biopellet for even cooking application.
Right, thank you very much. We're now going to hear from the other 2 finalists. So I'm going to ask you to take your seats again.
Thank you very much.